Royal Holloway, University of London, disinvited Baroness Claire Fox from a university debating society because she had expressed approval of a joke made by Ricky Gervais. Fox had been due to speak to students about the importance of discussion, but the Students' Union raised concerns and eventually her appearance was called off. Now, I'm joined in the studio by Omar Loubak, one of the students who actually invited Claire Fox. She'll be with us too in a moment. Omar, welcome to the show. You're a student at Royal Holloway. You decided to invite Baroness Claire Fox. What was the idea behind the event?
So the reason why we wanted to invite Baroness Fox is because Baroness Fox is your archetypal perfect type of person you want at a debating society. Director of Academy of Ideas, peer at the House of Lords, journalist since before I was born.
Yes.
So this was something that I thought, as a committee member, the students will look at Claire Fox and say, this is someone that I want to be when I'm older, and Claire Fox will show them how to be that person. And plus, as it was about the idea of debate and why debating is important in society in today's world, I thought would have been a real booster for our students at Royal Holloway.
So the idea then that a discussion about the importance of debate is then shut down, I mean, the irony of this won't have escaped anyone. Who was it who wanted to shut this down, and what happened there?
So after we announced that Claire Fox will be speaking at our university on the end of February, the Student Union let us know that there were a couple of people offended by Claire Fox's views on the transgender community. So this included stuff like the retweet of the Ricky Gervais joke, her views on trans in sports.
So just to be clear, so Ricky Gervais had made a joke which had a theme of transgenderism, and she had retweeted the joke. But it was a joke because it was in a stand-up show and people were laughing in the clip. So we know it was a joke. And that offended people, but also her view that women should have single-sex sports, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they were offended by this.
They were offended.
And then how did they go about trying to get her cancelled?
So, like the people who have read the articles, if they have read the articles, and if you have seen the emails, the Student Union kept on reiterating this idea that inviting Claire Fox is as an advocate of hate towards the trans community, whatever that means, that Claire would incite hate towards the people and she'll be a trouble for those people.
Why did the university capitulate to them and not go along with it? Presumably you wanted to keep it, persist and have it go ahead.
So the reason why the university sided with the Student Union, if that's the question why or what you're asking, is mainly because the Student Union has this more institutional backing behind it. We're just a debating society. We don't really have that much power. And the reason why the talk got cancelled was because of that. Because other members at the committee thought that it would have been that if we were to side with the student, not side with the Student Union, but at least just cancel it for their sake, then we won't be in trouble because our funding or their funding is dependent on the Student Union. Things like going on to competitions is dependent on the Student Union. So if you were to agree with the Student Union, we will be safe from that backlash.
I understand. OK, well, let's bring in Baroness Claire Fox now, who's joining us via video link, if we can have her. Hello, Claire Fox, hello. So apparently, according to your detractors, you're an advocate of hate. Is that right?
Absolutely not. And it's so interesting hearing the discussion as described by Omar. I'm not entirely sure that students coming to hear about my career and wanting to be like me would be the end result, because I would have been more than happy to have arguments with people who never want to grow up to be like me. I'm quite controversial in my views on a range of issues, not least about free speech, no ifs, no buts. But of course I don't hate. Who do I hate? I'm for women. I'm for women's rights, and I object to absolutely the way that trans ideology supporters, not necessarily trans people, I hasten to add, trans ideology supporters insist that women's rights and women's sex rights should be undermined in order to accommodate their demands. Anyway, the whole big point was that all that they apparently found as proof and evidence of my hate was one retweet where I congratulated Ricky Gervais for skewering that ideology in 1 minute, which he does, by the way. It's a very funny clip.
Were you particularly surprised that it was a joke that got you in trouble here? I mean, the idea that they're scouring through your Twitter history to find absolutely anything, and that was the best they could do, but not only that, that would be effective from the university's perspective and justification for actually cancelling the event.
Well, I think that the thing that's really harrowing for the students, listen, this is no skin off my nose that I don't have to go and do a talk at a university. I want to make it clear I'm not playing the victim here, but this is a very serious matter in relation to student societies having the freedom and the autonomy to invite who they want. The Debating Society invited me. The Student Union initially gave them a bit of a hard time investigating whether I was a safeguarding risk, checked me out. I kind of passed somehow some tests that they did. Unbeknown, this was all happening behind the scenes months ago. And then when they advertised, some societies caused a fuss. And I suppose you could say that I wasn't surprised, but I think that when I heard of the kind of bullying and intimidation and the real strong-arming that went on to the society, I realised that this was an important issue because people don't always, cancel culture isn't a kind of big headline thing. We've, let's be honest, when you hear about what's happened to Posey Parker, which we just heard, or the women today who were out protesting for women's rights and they're harassed and bullied and, facing physical violence, me being cancelled might seem nothing. But from the point of view of academic freedom and a university, the idea that these young people interested in debate, wanting to hear a diverse set of views, the opposite of snowflake students, interested, inquisitive, and that their choice to invite a speaker then led them to be threatened. They were told their reputation would be ruined, that the society's name would be mud. They'd be inviting somebody who's a troublemaker. And of course, they immediately think, God, I don't want my whole life ruined just to have Claire Fox come and speak. And I don't blame them. Why would you? So I think it's the behind-the-scenes, subtle, strong-arming intimidation of students that I wanted to make a fuss about. And if I can finally say, Andrew, you yourself have been involved in speaking, I think, and are due again to speak at something called Living Freedom, which is it's got to the point now where we have to organise, some colleagues of mine, and you're one of the speakers, are organising events where students can go along and talk about the importance of people like John Locke, the letter on toleration, people from history like J.S. Mill, and learn lessons of why free speech is important. And those extra curriculum seminars have been put on in universities because sadly we can't rely on, for example, the management or the senior academics at the Royal Holloway to actually stand up for free speech or instruct or help students understand the importance of academic freedom.
Claire Fox, thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, I just want to quickly bring in Omar again on that point that Baroness Fox is making. From a student's perspective, she very rightly says, what happened here was a lot of young people were deprived of the opportunity to hear what Claire Fox had to say. Is it the case that we are dealing with a generation who are completely intolerant of different viewpoints, or is it just a small minority who have too much clout?
I definitely think it's a small minority that have too much clout. One thing that I have seen after all of this has hit the media is that the silent majority has started to rise up. Claire Fox can talk about this, and I've seen this once we announced the cancellation of Claire Fox, so once this has hit the media, there's been many people, many students at Royal Holloway who have said that this is someone that we wanted to hear speak, and we are very troubled that this talk has been cancelled because of the strong arming of the Student Union. The institution that is supposed to allow free thinking, it's supposed to allow different views. One of the reasons why I go into higher education is so that I can hear views that might offend me. I study politics, philosophy and economics, and I come across so many texts that I don't like. But at the end of the day, we're all ignorant. And the only way to get smart is hearing views that we may not agree with. And that's how you become smarter. And that is how you take the full advantages of things like university. And it deeply troubles me that there are people in the university who do not agree with that. So this is one of the reasons why I feel like it's very important that we do fight, so that the silent majority can stand up against the minority who are raising their voice, screaming that you cannot hear different opinions because those opinions might offend some people.
Very well said. Omar Loubak, thank you so much for joining me, and to Baroness Claire Fox, thanks very much. Now, a spokesman for Royal Holloway has issued a statement saying, "We are committed to the principles of academic freedom and free speech and aim to create an inclusive and supportive environment for all students and staff. The Royal Holloway Students Union and its societies work as separate entities from the university and organise events in line with their own processes and procedures. As a university, we will continue to work closely with the Students' Union in relation to the legal and regulatory responsibilities for organising events."